The Demon Lord unexpectedly discovered that his strongest magician seemed different. She thought he was mistaken. The moment she left, Ike suddenly collapsed to the ground, powerless, because his true identity was that of a human. Exposure in front of the Demon Lord would undoubtedly mean death. It turned out that Ike was once an orphan abandoned by humans, taken in by the greatest magician of the demon tribe, Romberg, who raised him as his own grandson. During this time, he passed on all his knowledge to Ike. Before Romberg died, he left behind a mask and a robe that could hide one's aura, admonishing Ike to never reveal his human identity to avoid fatal danger. As time swiftly passed, 10 years had gone by. The once little kid had now grown up to be a commander capable of leading thousands, thanks to his mastery of war tactics and exceptional magical abilities. With Ike's command, they even conquered a human city known for its impregnable defenses. Facing the stubborn resistance of the city lord, Ike merely used a simple spell to disorient him. Yet Ike's subsequent order was to treat their wounds, which puzzled the enemy. All of this was observed by his superior, Sephiro, the only person in the demon tribe who knew Ike's true identity. She was secretly pleased that recruiting Ike was the right decision, as she witnessed him capturing the strongest defended city with minimal forces. Meanwhile, Ike went to the city lord's room to rest and ensure privacy. Once he confirmed that no one was around, he released a powerful barrier. Despite his involvement in many wars, he still couldn't get used to the bloodshed. Every time he saw his human kin die, his guilt increased. Therefore, after achieving victory, he would immediately order his troops to treat the humans. And when alone, he always took off his mask as a reminder not to carelessly expose his identity. However, what he hadn't accounted for this time was a girl quietly hiding under the table who fainted from fear after bumping into something. Ike was devastated, unable to believe that the secret he had kept for 20 years could be exposed in such a manner. Before he could think further, his subordinates brought him a troubling issue. Ike's mercy had left too many humans alive in the city, which directly caused dissatisfaction among other officers. However, Ike had his own response ready. In this trade-centric city, the more humans there were, the more economic activity they could generate, and the higher the taxes they could collect. But while communicating with the residents, a teleportation spell suddenly activated on Ike, and when he regained consciousness, he was in a dark place, attacked by a formidable magical puppet. It turned out this was Sephiro's latest creation, wanting Ike to test its power. After easily defeating the puppet, Sephiro brought up official matters. It appeared that the current Demon Lord, having heard of Ike's great achievements at the front, wanted to see for himself this capable young commander. Under Sephiro's convenient teleportation magic, the two set off for the Demon Lord's castle. Meanwhile, the girl woke up from her faint, realizing she was locked inside a barrier. She was not surprised by this. After all, she knew Ike's secret. What she didn't expect was that Ike had even left a plate of dumplings for her. She decisively picked one up and ate it, finding it to be delicious. At the gates of the Demon Lord's castle, Ike and Sephiro had already arrived. To prevent Ike's human identity from being seen through, Sephiro quietly blew a breath of spiritual energy. The next second, the guards responsible for the inspection detected a strong magical aura on Ike, which completely dispelled any doubts about his identity. On the way to meet the Demon Lord, Ike couldn't help but recall various deeds about the Demon Lord. It was said that the current Demon Lord had overturned the demon's inability to defeat humans in just one battle, making her the strongest in demon history. She also had a unique insight into personnel, promoting even the lowest of soldiers if they showed potential, judging solely by ability. This innovative approach led the demon tribe to prosperity. The prospect of meeting such an epic-making Demon Lord even excited Ike a bit. However, what he didn't expect was that the Demon Lord looked nothing like he had imagined. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, the Demon Lord inevitably became suspicious of Ike's identity and questioned the reasons behind his actions after capturing the city. Fortunately, Ike was well prepared, articulating his philosophy smoothly, and with Sephiro occasionally interjecting, they managed to avert the crisis of his identity being exposed. Yet even with his watertight explanations, the Demon Lord instinctively sensed something was amiss. She came closer to Ike, claiming that next time she would definitely see Ike's true face, leaving a meaningful remark before departing. At this moment, Ike was sweating profusely. The close encounter with the Demon Lord had his heart racing, and she had even discovered that Ike's face was a mask. The only relief was that at least his identity had not been exposed this time. After the matters with the Demon Lord concluded, Ike immediately returned to his room to check on the girl. The food had been completely devoured, suggesting that the girl wasn't as stiff as he had imagined. When the girl saw Ike again, she was very panicked. Ike quickly assured her that he would not kill her, which immediately stopped her tears. After some conversation, it was learned that the girl's name was Sadie, who had become a maid for various reasons. To keep the secret from being exposed, Ike had no choice but to take Sadie as his own exclusive maid, establishing a contract that she must never reveal the secret for life. It is worth mentioning that after meeting with the Demon Lord, Ike received a reward from her, the recently conquered human town, and Ike was appointed as its new lord. However, Ike was not pleased, because this town was located on the southern border, which is essentially the front line of the human-demon wars, always at risk of human attacks. Gazing at the surrounding buildings in ruins, Ike had no choice but to order the residents to first rebuild the city walls. Otherwise, even with his extraordinary abilities, the human forces would easily breach them. However, relying solely on human power would take at least half a year. But Ike was not one to sit back idly. Not only did he have humans join in the construction work, but he also called upon the entire army to assist the humans with the physical labor. Seeing humans and demons working together, his lieutenant could hardly believe his eyes. What shocked him even more was that Ike had divided the humans and his subordinates into 3 groups, with each group working 8 hours a day. This arrangement ensured rest while allowing for continuous work 24 hours a day. Even more, to boost morale, Ike had set up a bonus system. Furthermore, when he saw that certain projects were particularly challenging for everyone, he would personally step in to resolve them. Such actions earned him the admiration of his subordinates, who believed he could definitely become the next Demon Lord. Ike unexpectedly discovered that after becoming the strongest mage among the demon race, he not only received the title of Lord from the Demon King, but also found his romantic fortunes ridiculously exaggerated. Normally, having 2 little fangirls clinging to him was tolerable, but he was especially surprised when he woke up in the boudoir of a beautiful superior. Since becoming the lord of the city, Ike found himself increasingly preoccupied with numerous matters, especially since his city was located at the border between humans and demons, always having to be prepared for human attacks. To gain the upper hand, Ike and his maid Sadie infiltrated a human town to secretly gather information about the human army. However, they were barely there before Sadie got distracted by a street vendor's game. It was a classic street scam where guessing the location of a bead could double one's bet. It seemed simple but was not easy at all, as the vendor would never let you guess correctly. At that moment, Sadie had no money. Just as the vendor was about to shoo her away, he noticed that Sadie seemed to have a nice figure, and suggested she could gamble with her body. As the vendor was about to lift the cup, unexpectedly, all the cups started floating in the air, and Sadie realized none of them contained the ball. Realizing the vendor was cheating, the crowd became furious and was about to resort to violence. After this minor incident, the two continued scouting for information. The demon race's power was growing stronger under the new Demon King, prompting many major nations to cease their infighting and form alliances against them. Unbeknownst to them, as Ike was preparing to return, the earlier vendor came with people, intending to capture Sati as his slave. Hearing this, Ike quickly surveyed the surroundings and, finding they were alone, subdued the vendor and his companion. Ike then inquired about the army. It turned out that the country's leaders wanted to strike Ike's city before forming an alliance. Back home, Ike quickly began devising countermeasures. Unexpectedly, his subordinates Lilith and Sadie began to get jealous of each other, each claiming to be closest to Ike, which only added to his headaches, as he couldn't focus on the pressing matters. Fortunately, his deputy arrived just in time to temporarily resolve their dispute. That very afternoon, a knight commander led his troops in preparation for a surprise attack. However, Ike had already prepared an ambush, positioning skeletons and orcs at optimum locations. Thus, before the human forces could even launch their attack, they were defeated with minimal losses by Ike's strategic planning. But what surprised Ike was that the leader of the opposing legion seemed formidable. Upon realizing they were ambushed, he immediately ordered a retreat. Such courage and decisiveness were not common among ordinary people. However, before his deputy could rejoice further, an arrow shot from behind accurately hit Ike. Although such damage wouldn't normally concern a typical demon, Ike's true identity was that of a human. He thought he was going to die, but when he woke up, he was astonished to find himself lying in bed, with his superior sleeping soundly beside him. It turned out that she rushed to heal his wounds right after he was injured. The details of the healing process went without saying. Looking at the arrow that hit him, Ike had two suspicions. Either an assassin had infiltrated the city beforehand, or there was a traitor among his subordinates. But he didn't have time to ponder it further, as the two women who had been worried about him rushed in. Because of Lilith's close contact, another argument ensued. Fortunately, his deputy arrived in time to report on important matters. According to his investigation, the Knight Commander Alistair, who had previously planned to attack them, had been imprisoned due to the failure of the siege. To verify his suspicions, Ike decided to meet Alistair in person. Unexpectedly, Lilith secretly followed along. With no other choice, Ike agreed to act together. However, with Lilith's participation, Ike's original plan for a stealthy infiltration turned into a direct assault, greatly improving their efficiency. While Lilith distracted the guards, Ike quickly found the room where Alistair was detained. As Ike had anticipated, Alistair was not simple at all. Far from being panicked, she immediately attacked Ike with a small knife aiming for his vital parts. Unfortunately for her, Ike quickly subdued her to the ground. Seeing her true face as a woman, Ike, while somewhat admiring her, also asked Alistair if she had planted any assassins in the city. At this, Alistair counter-questioned Ike. "Are you really a demon?" Before Ike could respond, a large number of soldiers rushed in,